It is. It is. Okay, now we'll go to the intro.
And it looks like I'm a blue box.
You are. Your camera's not on. You see down here, there's
Is
no
it
little
true?
camera. Yeah, see, I got a little camera here. Look at my
Oh
mouse
my
here.
goodness.
You ain't got no camera,
Why,
man.
why is my camera not on?
He's
That's
back.
crazy. Thank you.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, you got to tell folks. Please tell me if I do that because I have done that before, and went to the whole end of the roundup, and the guys are like, "Hey, why didn't you cam up?" I'm like, yeah, I didn't know."
By the way, my image thing in the corner is much smaller than the frame I'm in. I have a huge black frame. Is that
You
on
are.
purpose?
Yes, it is. That is actually. You see my mouse? Oh, all right. What the dang mouse is? Yeah. See yeah, it's the box around you that's the problem. I can actually black out the. Well, I can black out the black one.
I was thinking that you can enlarge the image to be inside the whole box, but
I cannot because it's the box that I'm
yes.
shooting.
Okay.
Okay. Well, now I have to do this because it's.
It is what it is. It's not
I must
important.
prove my prowess. Hang on. Feel like it filters here, and I go.
I don't want to delay start
Color
the game,
key.
but I just, you know,
Yeah, I think that's it.
although I think people expect delay to game because it's technical.
There we go. Okay. It is done. I bet. Golly dang. I got a tiny little bar, and well, I can fix that. Hold the Alt key down, and you just.
I usually don't spend my time under the bar.
Yeah, I'm dealing far too much with bars without any sort of happiness here. It's just not working. And there we go. Okay. Took off the gray thing. There you are. Now hit the start. Go to start. Well, howdy. My name is Daniel Markham. You're here at the Roundup once a week. My tech friends and I get together, talk about whatever links have happened that week that interest us. From a technical practice standpoint of view, we all have a lot of experience programming, watching teams program, working at startups, all that sort of thing. If you're interested, there is a duck on the next screen. You must love the duck. Click on the duck. The duck will take you wherever you want to go. And that will be the Roundup Discord, where you're welcome to post links and join in. This week, I think we have Mr. Tim Ottinger. Hey, Mr. Tim. So you were asking me earlier, young Tim, about animation. See, if you'll go back to that first screen, I did all that. The live birds and Roundup. That is me. I cannot hear you anymore. You've stopped making sounds. You're there. What happened
There we go. Sorry about that. I bumped my physical mute on my microphone instead of using the other mute, so I couldn't see it.
So about 2 months ago, we were starting the roundup, and I think it was James. No, it was John, who had a problem, and I was just so happy, and I was happy because it wasn't me. I knew there was going to be a problem. Oh, great, John's got problems. Oh, it's great.
I'm not alone. I feel like I'm in my tribe now.
Yeah. Hello, I'm not alone anymore. So Tim, what you been up to for the past week?
Oh, lots of interviewing and trying to read up on topics on which I've been a little behind and helping my nephew out with, of all things, a PHP program.
Nice, very nice. That
I
would be
haven't
very
seen
cool.
PHP in probably 15 years.
I always wanted to get one, and I admire you for that. So
I got over it.
I don't admire you a lot. It's just a tiny. I admire you because you're picking a goal which I do not have anymore, and it's a lot of work there. So that's why I admire you. I do not want a PhD because I couldn't pick what to be one in, and if I did, I probably would piss everybody off. So it's just not working. It doesn't seem I can do that at home or
PHP 's
online.
okay.
Huh? A FUD?
I really prefer a more strongly typed language, like Python or Ruby or something instead of PHP. It's really quite loose.
Oh, PHP? I thought you said PhD. Ah,
No, 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 no. No, don't admire me for PHP. That I was wondering why that was admirable.
no, there's nothing at all. I rescind all previous compliments.
Okay, well, we'll cancel those. They seem to be oddly placed, and now we know why.
Yeah, I never had a dream of actually using PHP. I never had any ink. I played with it enough. Oh my gosh, what was that? websites, don't they use a lot of PHP like in websites?
Yeah. WordPress uses
Yes, that's
PHP.
exactly where I played it at.
Yep.
And I played with
Most
it.
of
I
the
got,
Ruby I've done in 10 years has been because of Jekyll, little extensions for Jekyll. I haven't done any serious Ruby.
yes, for those who don't know, Jekyll is actually the Webpack pipeline that takes stuff and sticks it into, I guess, a PHP-enabled web page or site, right?
Yeah, so yeah, it's all underneath the covers, all the rendering is done with, and the extensions are done in PHP for WordPress.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
and it's weird because there isn't like a WordPress server per se. It runs connected up underneath some web server doing weirdness. So
I use Ghost. I switched from my home blogging system is now by Ghost, and I like it well enough. It's free, of course. I've been on WordPress. I've been on removable type. Yep.
I remember that.
I start off with movable type. I have, of course, done web, straight up web all the time. Even made my own modular pluggable system for static web pages. And it would do anything WordPress would do, and blah, blah, blah. I was very happy, very proud, and nobody cared. So
What's funny is I've done most of my blogging on the Industrial Logic website because I was employed there. And that's a Jekyll site. And I got really used to doing the whole markdown thing. And I really kind of liked it.
yeah.
But my personal, I've never self-hosted any of my web pages. I've never even got a domain for them. I'm just running on Blogspot. So if you go to agileotter.blogspot.com, and I've ignored all of the themes and stylings. So it's as Spartan as it could be. I mean, sometimes you think you're going to Y Combinator or something. It's really primitive looking, really, really simple.
This is the words of wisdom, my friends. Listen to Tim.
So I haven't invested much in it, and I don't know if I will, but I'll start blogging there again now that it will be my home again.
I learned, of course,
Maybe I should
HTML.
think about that. Maybe we should talk.
Yeah, I learned HTML, gosh, back when HTML first came out, and JavaScript, and gosh, I joined the club, guys, and I went through all the things, and I reached a point where I still do it. I love it, love playing with it. And the problem was I still do it. I love it, love playing with it. Because I will need to blog something like, I like squirrels. And I will sit down at the computer, and 6 days later, I'll have a 3D animation of a squirrel. It's a beautiful thing, and it dances, and the squirrel sings to you and everything. And either I'll have no text at all, or worse yet, I'll have like 3 pages of the history of squirrels in my yard. And either way, it doesn't work out.
I want to write all the time, and if I'm not going to my web page, which I haven't been, if I don't go to my blog, then I'll end up blogging all over the face of LinkedIn and X and Blue Sky and everything. I just need to stop, gather them in one place again.
Just say no, Tim. Just say no.
And again, I'd probably be happier writing in Markdown because it comes out like you expect, as opposed to Blogspot where sometimes it doesn't.
I did not get Markdown at first, and then I finally got it. It's like, oh, okay. And I love Markdown. I use it all the time. I use it as a default, in fact, because it keeps me away from the things I love playing with. And I'm really want to focus on like why am I the value of whatever I'm doing and not the other stuff. I found, for instance, that when I was writing my fiction books, I would go online in order not to write, and I would do this by writing things online because people would talk to me. That was fun. And it was much better than actually creating things. Because you go online, you can just say something like, your hair looked like a fire. And somebody got a whole morning of conversation right there. But you got to come up with like 300 pages of a book. That's a slog, a lot of work.
Yeah.
Okie dokie. So our first link is somebody. Why software takes longer than you think. This is a wonderful essay Mr. Tim posted into Programming Serious.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. And I posted a follow-up here, so I could wait here. There's yours. And there's mine. And I believe here's another one. So I think these three are related. So would you like to introduce the essay here, Tim?
Yeah. So basically, the idea is he's sitting down and doing some math for us, which nice of him to do, and suggesting that one of the things is that programmers might be pretty good at guessing the mean of something to be done, but they're not any good at guessing the median. And that he noticed that a lot of the overflow falls into exactly that gap, that people are guessing the median. I'm sorry, guessing the mean when it actually tends to come out the median, so they don't understand the probabilities quite right. And of course, it's going to be late for that reason because but I take a little exception that the definition of late here is not when estimated, that the difference,
Right.
that late is the difference between your estimate and the actual, when reality is that, well, you can solve that, just quadruple every estimate and you'll never be late. Well, seldom be late, right?
Yeah.
Well, we're not late. I said it would take 23
Yeah,
months.
and we're actually early.
Well, it's not late. Well, yeah, we needed it last Friday because that's when our launch event was. Well, I told you 27 weeks, so it's not late.
Yes.
We could just always lie about the end date, but so I think it's a poor definition. I think something's not late unless it causes something to happen in the world. I don't think estimates have anything to do with it.
Yeah, I know that there's a huge estimates or bad movement. I'm not one of those people. I would actually bring back the project manager, to be honest, but I would make him a skill, not a role, because I believe there is a skill to all sorts of project management type things, and some schmuck got to go do it. And we vote him on the island. He got to stay, and he represents us. He wastes his time instead of our time. It is a useful job. You think I'm kidding?
I think so too. And there's good places for a manager too, because when it comes, there are certain things that you need the clout of the organization. So you need to have that relationship and know who to talk to and where they are. And that's different from knowing what you're doing technically. I think that it's good when it comes to, changing the talent pool, adding or removing people. I think it's good to have managers for that. I think to remind us of priorities, it's good to have managers on that. I think to remind us of actual real world situation. And also, when things don't go well, there's got to be somebody with organizational clout that can come out and say,
Yes.
well, what is it you need in order to get this thing back on track?
Yes.
And without a manager, it's too easy to be ignored and for people to build a different hierarchy.
I agree with you. I think there's a Microsoft book came out in the 90s. I'm trying to think, was it maybe Steve McConnell? I can't remember. It was about project management, and the gist of it was you're there to get obstacles out of the way for your team to work. And some obstacles, it's just easier to send somebody off somewhere to get it done, and it doesn't relate to what you're doing. It's just an obstacle. That's perfect project manager stuff. Understands the technology, understands the organization, will run interference for you. That is a great skill because not everybody has that skill.
Yeah. So I agree with you. That's basically what we came down to. Now this is of course on, estimate accuracy. And again, I don't really have a lot of patience with estimates. I'd rather get things done and get them shipped and not waste our time playing with those things.
Yes,
But,
yes, I agree. I agree with your gist,
I
but
think
I
it's
don't,
good.
but
I
I
think
think you
it's
should
good
estimate. It's weird. I completely disagree with you, Tim, but you're right.
That
So-
reminds me of that old joke. Remember that one?
Yeah. Which one?
The guy that goes to the wise man and says, how do you live in such peace, harmony with everybody? And he says, oh, it's easy. I just never argue with stupid people. And the other guy says, well, if you don't argue, how will they ever learn? And the wise man says, oh, you're right.
Yes, yes, I like this. There's much wisdom there. This is going to sound bad, but it's true. I learned early on as a coach that if your team is failing and you're going on to another assignment, tell them how awesome they are. Gosh, it's sad. And the reason why I'm not trying to lie to them, most everybody feels as if they're awesome anyway. And if you tell them how awesome, and everybody's got some good things they're doing. Yes, you have not listened to me at all. Yes, you've blown 3 sprints and not delivered a story. But dang, it's a good storyboard. And that stuff you've done with a color coding, that's just all, so you can find things to pull people up. And that's quite frankly, admitting you're wrong and learning is a tough, tough thing to do. So Yeah, I don't want to like. I always had a problem trashing teams because I always felt like I was that guy, and it did. I
You
think
did a
what's
wonderful job of describing that, Daniel. That was really great. I think it's a good idea.
yes, yeah,
Of
yes, and I
course, you're
see that
right.
you do not do that at all. You actually come to the light of how awesome. Hey, I gotta introduce you to Grok because Grok thinks I'm awesome too. You just to jump into something serious real quick. One of the best coaching experiences I had was at Blue Cross Blue Shield, North Carolina, I believe. And the reason was a couple of reasons. First of all, we were running a safe program. Okay? Wait for Tim's head to explode. This is Scaled Agile Framework. And I will clarify that by saying the company picked the Scaled Agile Framework. I'd actually been to Dean Leffingwell's beta project at John Deere and knew it.
So was I.
So we came in and said, that is a great idea because you guys are awesome as always, but don't do anything. We'll add things from there as we need. And that worked. That was a beautiful, beautiful thing. So we had co-located, we had a huge team area with like 6 teams, all in their little cubby holes. They had their own story rooms. They had their own space to do what they wanted to with. But you could sit in the middle and watch all 6 teams, figure out who's having a problem, and go help them. So there's this wonderful collaboration thing that kind of happened accidentally.
I don't remember what years I don't remember. Maybe we were there at different times, but it's kind of funny. I've actually been at several of the places that are touted as the safe success stories, and have found that pretty much all of them have abandoned it.
Really? Wow.
Yeah,
It's
not been very, but I've worked at a lot of safe places. I get it. You can coach within any framework as long as you're just trying to help people. And
when I started, they would get the CMM book out. All right, we do CMM. No, actually, we do CMMI now because we're the new guys. We do CMM integrated. And, I knew that some of the guys that actually wrote the book were on the standards committee. I'm like, this is not an instruction model. This is a capability maturity model. It's supposed to give you things to talk about to fix problems. It's not supposed to be a recipe book. You can and should not do every dang thing in here. It's not the way you're using it wrong. But back to the safe discussion. So finally, the reason it works so well is we finally told the customer, which worked great, that every program is going to be its own model, flower, snowflake. So throw away the stricker here and stuff. But the reason I had a good coaching experience is this other guy was with me. He was a full-timer, okay? And he was quite acerbic and biting. And everybody knew that he was an older guy, and everybody liked him, but he didn't have time for BS. And it was perfect because I actually knew what they had to fix, and he was actually willing to tell them. And what we did at one point was we went into teams, and I said, "How you guys know Randy?" They're like, "Yeah, Randy's going to tell me how screwed up you are in front of you. You just be quiet. I will defend you to Randy. You can watch our conversations." My God, Tim, that was a beautiful, beautiful thing. It worked terrific. He could trash them all he wanted to. I could defend them. And they realized that I could defend them as well as they could justify they're doing the wrong thing. And it was just, it worked. Bad cop, good cop, bad cop.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful.
Hey, listen, on the screen, can you back up a little bit to the scatter plot?
Which one?
Because I think there's something really keen there that people probably should look at. And on back. I think it's 1 or 2 above this. There you go.
Scatter plot.
I just love this because every time I've seen somebody do this, we've come up with something very similar, right? So across the bottom is the estimate in number of hours, and up the left is the actual number of hours. And if you'll notice, some of those take like halfway up take that big dark middle stripe, if you want to put a cursor on there. That's underneath, it's like just under 10 to the first, right? Okay, if you'll notice, those are all those, that line is formed of dots. It's all the same estimate. But if you'll notice, some of those took longer than jobs 2 or 3 stripes up, actually, then all the way up. And then some of those were quicker than 7 stripes to the left. And it reminds you that these aren't point values. that if you have an estimate, it doesn't mean like if you say a one and people think it's 1 day, it's not 1 day. It could be a half an hour.
I will hit you with a
or it
rubber
could be
chicken.
3 days.
I will hit you with a rubber chicken if you do that. Yeah, you're right. Absolutely.
Yeah, you can't just add them up and think that that's going to sum up, because look at those. They're ultimately, I mean, it's almost like there's a rectangle going from actual number of hours being 10 to, down to the bottom. There's almost a rectangle. I guess it stops just about
Yeah, I can see that. You can see it,
zero.
sure.
It's a very solid, and they're all about the same probabilities up, when you look up and down at the actuals compared to the estimates, it's all in the same general space. It's like, wow, if you could just keep them that small and count them, you're probably going to be 10 times closer to being accurate. I'm going to make up a number. You'll be many times more accurate than if you actually try to add up the estimates.
Yes, I'm going to defend the no estimates bunch, and then I'm going to cut into you. But defending you, what the defense is, and it's true, this is nothing wrong with this, is that you just let the team make little to-do things they're doing. You run them through. You don't do no stupid estimation. You're wasting your dang time. 1 point doesn't equal an hour a day. These are stupid conversations. They never match up with how long it takes. So just stop it. And I'm, as far as that goes, I'm with you. But I made my peace with estimation, and I recommend doing it.
Look at the bottom left corner.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, I need to know if I'm in that bottom left corner, or if I'm in the one upper right of that, or the one upper right of that, or the very, very top upper right. That makes a difference.
So yeah, I got you. I understand the graph. I think that the problem here is that we're looking to number values to describe a cognitive process. Okay, so whatever you did for points or stories or estimate, one guy do it in a year, another guy do it in a day, you got a problem. And the problem is not the points or the estimate and the other shit. It's the difference in skill set. Ask the first guy how he did that, or the second guy.
Yeah. And I think that there's still, even then, there's a big difference in knowing the difference between a small, a trivial CSS tweak and rewriting a subsystem.
And so now we'll cut into this. So the reason I believe in estimation is I believe that story points are second order estimation, which is they got nothing to do with any unit. It's just like, this is probably twice as big as that one. And I will continue to agree with you. We get this wrong all the time. In fact, you look at this, once you get outside the little narrow spot here, once you get outside the narrow spot, assuming a normal distribution, which I don't, but anyway, once you get outside this little narrow thing, things get crazy really quicker than we can estimate how crazy they're going to get, which is what Tim said. So this is why you're doing it wrong. This is, oh my gosh, wrong. So let me tell you how to do this, because it's important. You should have 20, maybe 30 user stories. Each of these stories should describe business value to the external user and not anything to do with what the hell you're doing as a team. Okay? That's why you should only have 20, 30, because nobody pays anybody to do 30 things. You're probably getting paid to do 5 things, to be honest about it. So you should have a very small number of things on your master backlog. Because you have a small number of things, and only if you have a small number of things, every time you do a sprint, sit down and estimate all of them. And you're not estimating days or hours or nothing. What you're doing is saying, after coding for about a week, I think this thing's actually about 20% of the total now. Before I thought it was 5% of the total. I don't know what the total is. I don't care. But this got a lot more complicated than it was before. That's interesting to us. Maybe we should go fix it. So if you estimate in second order pattern, and you continue to estimate the entire backlog, you're not giving a number that represents the complexity of the story, because you don't know. Tim's right, nobody know. But if you're not figuring out how the story relates to the architecture as a total project, you're not doing your freaking job. I'll just tell you, if you're breaking up, and I'm going to rant a little bit, if you're breaking up tasks into tiny things and doing it, guess what? You're probably doing a wonderful job, because you're probably doing your job in your brain. And that's wonderful. I'm glad you got a nice brain. You're able to break things up, and exactly, you do very small things. You do 50 little small things. It comes out in the wash, and it's wonderful, but we're frickin' trying to pay you to communicate what the problems are with the technology, the way we understand the business problem, to the larger organization. If we wanted just to solve the problem, we'd hire the robot guy or whatever, right? Your job is to interact with people in the business based on the logical construct you've created, based on what they want. And if you focus on, I'm typing at the keyboard, or a point equals an hour, you don't play tennis by looking at the scoreboard. you're doing this completely backwards. It's the stuff involved with estimation has to do with changing your brain, not making a report on how long things take. Okay, I'm done. Rant completed.
Yep. And I think, again, the rough orders, it's probably good to know if you're in, like, look where 80% of these jobs are. Are you in that space? A round number is fine. If you're not in that space, okay, are we in a really tiny space or the pretty big space or the absolutely mammoth space? You need to know which one you're in.
And really your job, and the reason you should think about the architecture, you just resize your backlog, what remaining backlog. Your job is to actually do this in the smallest space as possible. I mean, if you think about it, you're not, if I give you change the login and you spend a year redoing the database to get the perfect login, you're not doing your job either. Right? You may have a beautiful architecture, maybe the best change ever, but that's not your job either. So people get lost pretty quickly, either the too detailed part or drifting off into things they want to do and just throwing those things in the backlog.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
that's good. That's good.
Size.
Love me some
Okay,
rain.
well, thank you.
I will skip the MPC server because I didn't put that on the list. Long story short, it's on the linked list in Programming Serious. They're trying to figure out, because we have AI coding, we need to have a new thing now that we could sell certifications to because, hey, that's how we make money right here. And so they want an NCP server. The guy's like, hey, isn't this just a regular CLI program? Queue up 40-year discussion, but it's the same old we've done all along. No SQL. And I told somebody once, I made the perfect no SQL database. I'm going to call it hash table. And it's going to be beautiful. It's like, God, we were doing this in the 80s. So I just wanted to do a buzzword alert. NCP servers, like microservices, and all these other things are coming your way. You better be able to say the words.
I'm using a bunch of them. And actually, what they're good for is, of course, the model itself and the LLM itself is medium static. But if you have an MCP server out there, it has some kind of context and it can say, hey, I can do things for you. And then instead of, when I go to Python, it can go to an MPC server that knows Python and is current. And it can go to one for Java and it can go for one for sociology and one and it can get better data than if it just tried to, run off its training data.
These are like sort of ragged context areas, I guess.
Yeah. So there's certain areas where you can provide extra context through one of these servers.
Notice I use RAG because RAG's another good. What's RAG stand for, Tim?
Retrieval aided generation.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, I didn't remember myself till you just said it, but I psyched you out, so it worked great. Yeah, I think that's pretty close.
Yeah, retrieval augmented generation. Yay, I did it.
When? The judges give.
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, I have no problem with it. I think the question is not the value of the thing. I think really just kind of like how do we wrap the buzzwords around the thing, and if we invent extra terminology and obfuscate what we're actually doing here, we make a bunch of money out of stuff. But if we just say, hey, call this API with this thing, who's going to pay people to teach them how to do PC servers? Nobody. So it's very important for us to make money. And I say that jokingly, but no, this is what we're going to do with it. This is like we did everything else.
Yeah, I have an LLM trying to teach me how to write an MCP server and it's using MCP servers to instruct me.
Yeah, see, that's the reason I did my Grok project based on a text prompt with Grok was I don't want to have to install a big framework to get good advice, because what will happen will be somebody will use this and get bad advice, and some other asshole will come along and say, well, if you had MCP server version 3.7, which is actually, and it's like, I ain't doing that. I'm just not doing that no more. Okay? So if you give me a technology that I think is useful, I will play with it, I will get it working, and I want it to go away and never look at it again. If I'm still playing with this technology 5 years from now, it's a fail. For me professionally and for the people who write the technology. But this is another good example over in Project Programming Series. Same idea. This is, we seem to think that team allocation and capacity is the same thing. No, it's not. hours are not fungible between developers or teams, right? It's just, no. And this is another version of why you shouldn't estimate in points that you think are hours or whatever. Okay, no. I must be in a ranting mood. I'm sorry, Tim. Sorry you had to take the brunt of this today. Apologies.
No, I thought that the basic structure was we were going to go with those things that don't cause rants first. No. I don't think that that's possible for us. I think you and I will go off on something no matter what we choose.
I failed my family and my clan. So next up on the link list is number 2.
Massive overhead of doing simple things.
Oh yeah, the bloated use case. Yes. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Yeah. I think the theme to this week is going to be, why are you making this so complicated? Right. That's the thing. So here we go. Here's the essay. And then here are the Hacker News comments on that. And we've all seen, anybody who's used a library has seen this, right? So when I wrote my first Java class, true story, I think it was Java first came out, and I think it was actually a login class. And it was like, login, because of course login should be a class. Well, I wrote a class. I had decorated that now with like 40 methods. Log in with your first name, log your last name, log in the picture of your dog. I mean, it was because that was my first class, and I was a PM on a project. This is all about, I feel awful about this. And so I wrote the perfect class that would handle all logins, and I gave it to my C++ dev. He deleted it right in front of me. He deleted all except for one method. Bam! I'm like, oh man, that hurts. Oh man. But what if the guy's a Venezuelan and only has a picture of his dog? And it's like, no, we're done. You need one method. We're done. So you start with a method. It's very easy to add other things on that you think you might need one day, but you don't.
One of my favorite true stories was I was going to do a real work workshop for a company, and they needed to put up a service that, receives some messages and processed them. I can't give you much detail about that, but it's basically, input, output. And we got a list of what the most important things were to do from the point of view of the people in sales who wanted to sell it, the product person that was on the team. Boy, so many good things we learned on this. This was a really great week. It's only 1 week, 4 days. And we got the list of features that were most important, and we had him, help us, list them out and get a priority. And, the first thing that it didn't do, that's the question. What's the most important thing it doesn't do right now? And the first thing it didn't do is exist. So we decided, we should have a directory and a Git repo and a, basic. Okay, so now it exists.
Yep.
Now what's the most important? Well, it doesn't run. Well, we should have something that runs. We've made something that runs. Next one is, well, it doesn't process any messages. And it's like, wait, hold on. It doesn't not process any messages either.
Right. Yes.
Would it be easier to start by any message it gets, it rejects them, and it has a proper rejection so anybody can write the front end to handle that? Oh yeah, let's do that first. Well, with that one done, every time we added a message in, that was an exception to the failure case. Right?
I like this.
So if we don't recognize the message, if it's not formatted correctly, that's a failure case, and it's already handled. So we only have to deal with good messages from there on, for the most part.
There are
one message, and then the next message being handled correctly.
Yeah, of course. Yes.
And on day 3, I think at the end of day 3, the product person said, guys, if we just add this one other thing, I can sell this. You think we could add that first thing in the morning? Everyone's like, yeah, no problem. And they were able to use it that week. And it totally worked. It had its own architecture. It was very, very simple. It was basically a tiny monolith microservice. It was really quite nice.
I like this.
Now, there is a funny ending to the story. So I think that process is important. Cover the everything case, everything we don't do case.
Yes.
And then add the little things you actually do.
Yes.
I think that's good. And it runs end to end, and you can prove it out. It's got tests.
This is the way I do this, by the way. You're absolutely. This is you're preaching to the choir. This is exactly the way I do this.
Yep. Now,
Excellent.
an interesting thing that happened, I'll tell you the sad story, is that weekend the architect was mad because we didn't do the whole architect that he had in mind in our 4 days. So he threw away the team's code and rewrote it himself by staying up all night and working the entire weekend.
So there's two ways I've seen both ways. I've used both ways to successfully deliver projects. And they're both good. They both have drawbacks. And the drawbacks are the same. First way is pick the tough things first, because you're not going to know how to do them. And like we said, you don't know how much you don't know. And I love that. That's the way I started my career. Tough things first. And then you get down to the simple things, and they're simple. Problem with that is, as Tim pointed out, you end up tangled up in frameworks and tools and architectures that are not of high value to your product owner, but maybe of high value to other people like you or your team or the guys over down the hall. And so it makes it very difficult for the non-technical product owner to actually figure out whether you're doing something you should be doing, or you're just trying to make Joe happy who works in databases. And that's a difficult conversation to have, and that's why people who start with architecture tend to fail by making these complex architecture astronaut monstrosities. The other way of doing it is just what Tim said. So what do I have? Nothing. Well, I got to have something, make a project. What do I got now? I got a project. What does it do? Nothing. Well, it's got to return something, and so here we go. And the thing here is now you're just doing exactly what you're being asked to do, and then you're just saying no. And no's tough, but now when you fail, you give this to the manager, the product owner. He get to go talk to Jim down the hall and tell him we're not doing that, because you don't have to have the discussion. So you can succeed either way, but you can't try to do both at the same time. Now, I'm with you, Tim. I would still do architecture first if I were in a team that I was able to make those technical decisions about and just say, we're not doing that because it's not important. Other than that, I would just do one little tiny thing. And this is the way I do it all the time.
Yeah. By the
Next,
way, I love that you pulled up the conversation at Hacker News.
Yeah.
Because it's funny, there's a diatribe in here about, oh, well, in Python and Perl, you can't do that because you don't have types. And it's like, yes, we do. And we have type checking. This is old statement. It's much, much better. Jerf, a day ago didn't know that you can do that, but all right, fine. But also, Python's strongly typed, so you can have it, actually be specific and be correct. But it's in there. I think that what they're landed on is a cool idea, because I've always thought.
Now wait a minute, I'm on the wrong one, Tim. Okay, I'm doing the Geiger counter one. Hang on, I just wonder what you're talking. Hang on, I clicked the wrong one. We're now on.
Oh, you're on a different one. I couldn't tell the text.
What are we on? We're still on the edge case first thing, or what?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
That's where I was, and the Hacker News article about that. But I like, though, that they went back and rediscovered OO. That the idea is to write a type for the small class rather than pass a bunch of integers around, and that might actually be strings, that might actually be whatever, and to actually define the types you need. And I think that's good. Do you think that people are slowly coming around, or do you suppose that this is a rare case?
I think that no. I have no hope that they're coming around. And the reason why is that the two main approaches, programming is transform, which is functional, and programming is organizational, which is OO, are constantly going to be at odds with one another. And quite frankly, the OO guy's much more intuitive. This is like a bicycle. Bicycle should have wheels. And I can use each one, happy to use each one. But the intuitive one's going to win because it just kind of makes sense. Oh, of course you got an adapter. Adapter should go inside the thing it represents. And so that's just the way people think. The transform guys are always going to be guilty of, well, this is actually using pi calculus. And God help us. I mean, we're good people, but we don't get out to parties a lot. And it's just, so, and it's not that one is right and one's wrong. It's that these are two completely different ways of solving technical problems. And so I'm not saying that pick this from that one. I can do either one, happy with either one. But if you're picking a solution space, I'm going to go live in this OO world to solve this problem. You better not be writing pure functions, because you're doing something wrong. Or, like I did when I first started learning functional programming, I started making classes. Like, hey, I'm a functional programmer. How do I make a class over here? And I could make a class. And I made a mess because that's not the way you code over here.
It is funny though. Python has definitely built a whole style around a sort of a mix of pure functional and OO.
Yes.
It's kind of interesting. It's kind of fun.
I like,
I do think that maybe the bigger picture for a lot of people though is if you have a bunch of programmers, you know, you hand me a thing and I say the thing dot, and the IDE says, here's what you can do with that.
yeah, oh, that's a
And
happy
whether,
face.
no matter what system is underneath it, if it's modules and imperative, if it's OO, if it's functional, that dot
Mhm.
is the most powerful thing going to communicate to people how to use the software as a
There's
developer.
no kind of happy feeling in the world. When I first got IntelliSense, I'm like, oh, wow, it was mind blown. It was amazing. So next up is the Flipper Zero Geiger counter, and we can just hit this quickly.
Yep.
This is just, I've always wanted a flipper, and I didn't know if Tim knew what one was. Have you ever heard of flippers?
No.
Yeah, I want me a flipper. I have flipper envy. A flipper is a handheld device to hack Wi-Fi. It's a Wi-Fi Swiss Army knife. You can bring down servers. You can figure out what's going on with your signal. You can do all this cool stuff. Some of which is legal, some not. It's not really the point. But this is like a Swiss Army knife for Wi-Fi, and it's so cool. And it's like $20 or something. And this guy added a Geiger counter to his. And Hacker News had this great thread here about, I did not know this. Actually, you can have a Geiger counter, just does a click, click, click thing, or you can have a spectrograph of Geiger counters, all these different frequencies. Yeah, that talked to me. I must have the spectrograph version of this. Yeah. So if you're interested in flippers, please get one and send them to me.
Ooh, do you think they could do one of those as a spectral analyzer for sound and maybe one for RF interference?
Well, yeah. I actually have a professional, what do you call it, the audio meter? The thing you take to a quiet room to tell you how many decibels it's rating.
SPL meter, sound pressure levels.
Yes, I have one of those. I don't think I've ever, it's still in the box. I think it still has a rep on it. It looks really cool. I get it out to show people. So, hey, see, I got one of these. This is pretty cool. Next up in the
we
link
started
list.
using one for an area where we're amplifying a band and speakers, and so it's helpful to know that you're not blowing people's ears out and that they can actually hear things.
I failed in audio processing. I don't know why. But I can do graphics. I just cannot do audio. I don't know.
I'm your opposite.
Yeah. I can't do. I can play songs. Yeah, play all kinds of songs. Play by ear. I can hear a song and play it, but can't make it work like recording or anything. Anyway, so next up is how I read your tutorial. Oh, I love this. This is so funny. This is Communications for Better Tech. And this is a tongue-in-cheek here. So this guy's like, I'm a new programmer, so I go to find out some tutorials about something, and this is what I see. And he lampoons the whole idea, and he's right. He's absolutely right. We ladle these things with jargon that nobody knows unless you're already in the community. And so it's fun. If you get a chance to read it, it's a good laugh.
Yeah, I think I particularly like the part where you desham the chronostatic matrix by running a random series of characters that includes the phrase "Sususudio baby shark."
I like it a lot.
I also go through a lot of tutorials because I'm always like learning about new things. And I've actually found it seems to me the absolute worst ones are on any Java framework, because
Really?
the Java framework wants to be described in terms of the Java frameworks that it either incorporated or replaced. And if you didn't know the prior framework, you have to go read the prior framework, which, by the way, is built on another framework, replaced or incorporated, which is based on another one. Eventually you get back and it's like, oh, is that why they call it Catalina? It's like, you shouldn't have to know that.
Yeah.
You're just trying to write some code, dang it. Why do I have to study 40 years of history to write a line of code?
Yeah, I like this essay so much. I wanted to write, here's the typical programmer comments, because I could probably do 4,000 words on what programmers would say about this. And this is probably pretty good, but the font size to me is just a little mistaken, and I don't like the margins. It's like, I don't know why they're still using this version of web server to do. It's like first you have this discussion of nothing to do with anything, and then you have this one tip like, well, there's a library that already does it. You don't have to teach them anything. You just saw this one thing, and it just works automatically. And so the poor guy is like, why is my margin? Where are my fonts? Why is my font size making my? We're not good people to ask questions of. Yeah, this is some good stuff here. It's just in the terminal, type. Next, go to the file system. Boop. And then he's got footnotes. So like he starts off and he goes, I've gotten to work for a company doing shuba-doing. And you go down to the footnote number 1. I probably should recognize the company because it seems illustrious, but I do not recognize the company or know what they do. Oh my God. So the footnotes actually explain how much BS is involved in all this. It's very good. Oh no, damn. Hello, Tim, come back to me, Tim. It's you. It's all you, man. It's all you. You can tell. You can tell if your icon lights up when you make sound. So down here, here's my Discord room here. And down here in the lower left-hand corner, I got a little icon for me, icon for Tim. Mine's lighting up because I'm speaking now. See? And it stops lighting up on my speaking, so your little icon, sadly enough, is not lighting up. You got nothing now. No. It's just, please, gods of audio, tell me, gods, please, what have I done? It's audio, it's the freaking audio. You got to be muted somewhere. That has to be it. Did you mute yourself? I can't hear what you're saying. Okay, so I'm gonna close out the roundup, and then if you're still interested, hang out online, folks. We're gonna spend the next 17 days figuring out what's going on with the audio, but let me go and stop this so you guys don't have to suffer through it. No, there you go. This is another roundup. We made it almost all the way without somebody going, I can't hear anybody, which is pretty good for us, pretty good. Drop by if you want to, click on the duck, and we'd love to see you, and I will see you on the internet. All right, so let me stop streaming, stop recording.